Good morning, everyone. It's a session on safety, and let us start. I'm sure everyone is present. We are looking at an important topic. Good chance for a question from this one, which is called safety committee. Safety committee.
सर गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
हाँ जी बोलिए. Yes, please.
हाँ सर, मैंने आपसे वो लोडिकेटर के नोट्स मांगे थे, आपने भेजे नहीं सर.
ठीक है.
हाँ सर, मैंने मैसेज भी किया था आपको कि इसमें भी किया था और व्हाट्सएप पे भी किया था कि लोडिकेटर भेज दीजिए.
ओके ठीक है, आपने मैसेज किया था, ग्रुप पे डाला था क्या?
हाँ सर, ये माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में भी डाला था, फिर व्हाट्सएप आपको भी किया था डीएम.
Okay. So I will do it. No problem. Let me see. I will do it. But I would request for person of these kinds, अगर आप ग्रुप पे डाल दो मैसेज, क्योंकि उसका ट्रैक रखते हैं, राइट? Anyway, as
ओके
you
सर.
say, I will do it. No problem. But today is a safety topic, safety class. Obviously, loadicator comes under cargo work. चलो कोई बात नहीं. So what we are looking at is the committee, safety committee meeting, and I'm sure you are aware of it. You have been taking part in it on board. Primarily, it is the chief officer who conducts the meeting. I mean, master will be there, chief engineer will be there, but it is mostly the chief officer who is also the safety officer normally. It could be somebody else also, but he is a safety officer in most of the ships, and he is the one who conducts the meeting, safety committee meeting. Now, what is the purpose of this meeting? Purpose, big tasks like this. Firstly, to ensure that safe working practices and standards are followed on the ship as per SMS manual or what is prescribed in the manual. Because safe working practices is paid a lot of attention and standards are raised to keep the ship safe and people working on it also safe. So safety first attitude. Now one thing is there, I have always said this and I don't mind repeating. Safety is a habit. Safety is a habit. Either you have the habit or you don't have it. It is not that today you are safe, tomorrow you are not safe, or 1 week you are safe, another week you are not safe. No. It is a habit. Either you have the habit and you are safe or you don't have the habit. There is no compromise. There is no midway. So the safety committee will have a task of keeping in view the safe working practices and standards which are to be followed on the ship and not compromised. That is not compromised. The safety is not compromised at any standard. For which purpose you have a safety committee and regular meetings are conducted. Occupational health and safety measures. Occupational health means while on the job, health and safety measures are implemented so that nobody is, untoward, hurt or meets with an accident. Then it goes further to say the safety committee will make recommendations because safety is something which is always evolving, it is always improving. You agree with that? That safety is always improving, safety is not a closed out issue. It cannot be a closed out issue. Any different opinion? Maybe somebody says safety is a thing which is already closed out. Everybody is safe now. Yeah, it is an open issue because you will see agar safety was always closed out or means everything was taken care of safety, there would be no near miss, there would be no hazardous incidents. But very fact that near miss do take place, hazardous incidents do take place, it means safety is still an open loop. It is not closed out. Also, as we are aware and we have conducted these meetings, safety committee meetings, there should be somebody representing the crew also, representatives of the crew to address any concerns or queries addressed to the ship management, which will include you as chief officer, master, chief engineer. The chief officer, if he is the safety officer or any person who is the safety officer, is maintaining a record. He is maintaining a record of everything concerning safety. So these records are also to be exhibited in a safety committee meeting so that they can be inspected by anybody and some suggestions can come. If required and identified, then there should be appropriate actions taken with regards health and safety policies. Appropriate actions. For example, it may be identified in the meeting itself, that committee meeting, that vessel is running short of working gloves. Now, this is something which will come up in the safety committee meeting. Vessel is running short of working gloves, or maybe the stock is depleting. Then this is something which will require action to be taken, which means an intent or a requisition made. And obviously, as the committee meeting is going on, there will be a record of meeting, suggestions, progress, and action taken. Safety tools, equipment should be available to the crew members and it should be accompanied by safety publications. See, safety committee meeting can also have a safety video played to emphasize on the safety. A video is also in order. Video played, watched by everyone, which can go on records by number maybe. Safety meeting conducted so and so date and safety video number so and so played for the crew benefit. Accident reports do surface, but it is important in the safety committee meeting that you identify the accuracy of such reports. How often are you having a safety committee meeting in your sailing days, if you can recall? How often? What is the duration of the meeting? I mean, duration between the meetings.
Once a month, sir.
Once a month. Okay. Once a
And
month.
urgent safety meetings if any other
कैमरा
orders.
किसका ऑन है भाई?
Once a month. Okay. कैमरा ऑफ ही है लगता है. किसी का ऑन है? मेरा तो ऑन है. ये डिस्टर्बिंग है, क्लोज इट आउट.
हाँ सर, किसी का बंद हो गया सर, हो गया.
अगर किसी का कैमरा ऑन है, then you cannot see the share screen. Just the input I want.
मैंने सर देखा है.
Okay. ठीक है, चलिए कोई बात नहीं. Let us resume. So once a month is somebody suggesting, which I agree, but it is prescribed by Code of Safe Working Practices that the meeting should be held at least 4 to 6 weeks duration, or whenever the need arises. This is also important. Whenever the need arises, when can the need arise? As a discussion, once in 4 weeks or 6 weeks is normal. But when can a need arise? Before that, even before 4 weeks, 1 month.
Or any emergency, any something new inspection is coming on, or some circular from company to discuss with everybody, some fleet incident which needs to be discussed with everybody that way. Or
Yeah.
some superintendent is coming and then he wants to do a safety meeting.
Okay. So do mention this in your answer. Duration of the safety committee meeting, between interval of the safety committee meeting, you can say every 4 to 6 weeks, but whenever the need arises, and give these examples what you have rightly recorded just now. Some inspection coming up. Actually, inspection तो आ रहा है तो you should be having the meeting before that. But anyway, चलो. And then maybe some circular has come from the company. Normally, if the company wants this meeting to be conducted after a circular, it will clearly mention, reference the circular, arrange to have a on-board safety committee meeting immediately, and revert with the minutes of the meeting.
नहीं सर, साथ में फोटोज भी मांगते हैं प्रूफ के लिए ना, फिर बना के तो नहीं भेज रहे.
ठीक है. फोटो में ही तो उसमें क्या है. अच्छी कोई फोटो होगी ना. वो भी हो जाएगा. वो भी हो जाएगा. नॉट अ बिग इशू. Normally, it is the chief officer who is responsible as safety officer. So when you are saying that he is responsible, the chief officer, he is to make sure that maintenance of all firefighting safety equipment is being carried out as per the PMS, and also the maintenance of car ODN, because that is also concerning safety. Apart from that, all accidents and dangerous occurrences are to be reported to the company and investigated. Safety officer is responsible for ensuring proper conditions of stability, etc. Means chief officer. If he is the chief officer, is the safety officer, then he is also ensuring stability adhered to docking and undocking. Regular inspections are to be made and recorded for monitoring the working practices and to ascertain no safety hazard exists or no safety system is being bypassed. There is a practice in many companies, including one which I work with, which has a system of stop card. So if anybody observes any unsafe practice being followed, he can stop the work by raising a stop card.
So you was in Volume?
Sorry?
So you was in Volume?
Myself?
Yes, sir.
No.
In fleet also same, Chetan.
Okay.
ठीक है. उसमें दिक्कत नहीं है ना. It is not customized कि भाई इसी कंपनी में होगा. Any company can follow that practice, which is called a stop card, so that if anybody, it is not by rank, anybody who observes a unsafe practice, he can stop the work, saying that this is not safe, and then can it only be resumed after the head of the department comes there, removes the hazard, and then the work can continue. It should be a normal practice, I think. Designated periods of the safety committee meeting, as we discussed, could be 4 to 6 weeks, but anytime urgent also can be specially called upon. And normally, in all companies, it is a practice to record the meetings, record the minutes of the meeting, rather, minutes of the meeting to be recorded and then published, means submitted to master for onward transmission to the company. Or there could be a standard company form for recording the minutes of the meeting of the safety committee. There is an online way also many companies are following, so that the company will receive the minutes of the meeting immediately, transmitted online. Not only that it will go to the company, actually speaking, it should be available to everyone. It should be available to everyone so that anybody can go through it. How is the system in your company? Can the minutes of the meeting be accessed by anyone?
सर रेस्ट आवर्स के लिए सबको सिर्फ पता होना चाहिए ना, क्योंकि मैंने जब पीएससी पूछती है कि तो उसके अकॉर्डिंग कितनी देर हुआ, कब हुआ, वैसे.
Sorry, I didn't get you. How are we mixing it up with rest hours? We are looking at safety committee meetings. I have not followed you. Maybe I am not understanding. Can you explain again? Can you raise your point again? I have not understood how you have brought in rest hours in the safety committee meeting का जो topic है हमारा. Although I will say on the onset, if there is a concern about rest hours, this can also be brought up in the meeting itself. Is that what you say?
नो सर, यू सेड ना कि एसेस ऑफ मिनट्स ये इसके सेफ्टी कमेटी मीटिंग के किस किस को अवेलेबल होते हैं, तो मैं कह रहा हूँ सबको ही पता होते हैं क्योंकि रेस्ट आवर्स में भरते हैं ना सब जने.
Yeah, maybe this is what I have not followed. Rest hours में क्या भरते हैं भाई? Safety committee meeting का working hours.
सर रेस्ट आवर्स में जैसे फॉर द एग्जांपल वी हैव अ मीटिंग फ्रॉम 1700 to 1745.
Okay.
तो चीफ ऑफिसर एंड सेकंड इंजीनियर विल फिल अप इन द रेस्ट आवर्स दिस थिंग.
अच्छा.
तो सबको पता होता है ना, जैसे नेक्स्ट पोर्ट यूएससीजी कर रहे हैं तो सबको पता है कि लास्ट सेफ्टी मीटिंग कब हुई है, कितने मिनट्स के लिए हुई है, सब चीजें.
Okay. But I was talking about that meeting itself, the minutes of the meeting itself, to be accessible to all. उसकी बात हो रही थी. I think that should be on सबके पास होने चाहिए. Accessible on a network, maybe a LAN network, which anybody can access.
हाँ जी सर, इस पे फाइल रहती है, कोई भी देख सकता है.
Okay. So that everyone is in the loop that a meeting was conducted on so date, and these were the points discussed. This was the agenda. Actually, you will start. This was the agenda, and then you will follow it by the minutes of the meeting, which will tell you कि उस agenda में से क्या क्या चीजें cover हो गई, right? You have to draw up an agenda first, of course, which is a normal question in MD exam also, with reference to last shift. ऐसा क्वेश्चन में बोला गया, with reference to your last shift, enumerate the agenda you will undertake for a next safety committee meeting. Of course, the safety officer is going to play a very important part in the safety committee meeting. So he will keep everything in view. And what he should ensure is that safety committee meeting is one thing, but Code of safe working practices for merchant seamen is accessible, available, and is discussed periodically with all concerned. Because inside COSWP, you will have also a message about safety committee meeting. Safety conscious standards should be improved and worked continuously upon, because I believe that safety is a thing which is continuously evolving. It is not a closed loop. It will keep on coming up. Otherwise, if it was done or everything was covered, then you will have no longer incidents. You will have no longer near miss.
सर आपने जो एजेंडा बोला वो क्या बनाना पड़ता है, वहाँ पे लिखना पड़ता है, लाइक एजेंडा कैसे लिखेंगे, क्या क्या
Yes.
लिखेंगे इसमें, मतलब उसमें?
या तो उसमें उसने क्वेश्चन में कोई लीड दे दी होगी. Means he might have said you are visiting HRA. मैं सिर्फ इमेजिन कर रहा हूँ. Maybe the question will say that your vessel is bound for HRA and the on-board management has decided by company instruction to hold a urgent safety committee meeting for the purpose of transit through HRA. Full stop. Design a meeting agenda. This could be one way. Now, of course, since you have been given the lead, it will pertain to HRA transit.
तो मेरा बस ये था कि इसको स्टार्ट कैसे करेंगे, लाइक इस क्वेश्चन को ना स्टार्ट किस पॉइंट से होगा, लाइक
ये जो पॉइंट्स हम पढ़ रहे हैं इससे शुरू होगा. तो द इंट्रोडक्शन, ये सेफ्टी कमेटी होती क्या है, सेफ्टी कमेटी मीटिंग का ड्यूरेशन क्या होती है, इंटरवल क्या होता है, इसी से शुरू करेंगे. सब इंट्रोडक्शन विल बी देयर and then you will move on to that particular topic which has been asked.
तो मेरा कहने का मतलब था, जिससे सर हम जब सेफ्टी मीटिंग करते हैं, हम तो जब जाते हैं तो हम बताते हैं कि टुडे वी आर कंडक्टिंग दिस सेफ्टी मीटिंग बिकॉज ऑफ दिस रीजन, राइट सर, ऐसे स्टार्ट करते हैं. तो पेपर में
एक मिनट, यू आर कंडक्टिंग द सेफ्टी कमेटी मीटिंग बिकॉज ऑफ, उसके बाद मैं मिस कर गया.
हाँ, कि क्योंकि वी आर गोइंग टू ट्रांजिट इन दिस हाई रिस्क एरिया, तो उसके बारे में हम आपको पॉइंट्स बताना चाहते हैं. व्हाट आर द सेफ्टी कंसर्न एंड हाउ वी गोना प्रोसीड इट फॉर दिस मच पीरियड ऑफ टाइम एंड हाउ एवरीबॉडी विल एक्ट इन दिस टाइम. ठीक है सर. तो ये फिर हमने जो उनको पॉइंट्स बताते हैं. तो सर इस क्वेश्चन के स्टार्टिंग में जब हम पेपर पे लिखना स्टार्ट करेंगे, तो मतलब उसमें ऐसे तो नहीं लिखेंगे टुडे वी आर कंडक्टिंग दिस सेफ्टी मीटिंग, ऐसे नहीं ना, मतलब कैसे, मतलब क्या डेफिनेशन वगैरह लिख के फिर बस एजेंडा स्टार्ट कर देंगे?
डेफिनेशन लिखोगे, इंट्रोडक्शन दोगे, सेफ्टी कमेटी मीटिंग होती क्या है.
अच्छा सर.
उसके बाद आप बताएंगे कि सेफ्टी ऑफिसर विल डू दीज थिंग्स, देन यू विल मूव ऑन टू एचआरए. पहले इंट्रोडक्शन दोगे ना सेफ्टी कमेटी का. इफ यू आर आस्किंग आंसर कैसे शुरू करना है, यही तरीका होगा.
हाँ जी सर, वही मतलब बोलने में तो हो जाएगा, वो लिखने में कैसे स्टार्ट करना वो पूछ रहा हूँ. ठीक है सर.
लिखना तो पड़ेगा आपको.
नहीं सर, लिखना तो है ही सर, नंबर तो लिखने के ही मिलने हैं, लिखना तो है ही
भाई, तो आंसर डिजाइन करने के लिए ही वी आर डिस्कसिंग. इसमें कुछ नोट करते हो आप, व्हाट यू थिंक कैन बी पार्ट ऑफ सेफ्टी कमेटी मीटिंग. वी आर डिस्कसिंग एक्चुअली सेफ्टी कमेटी. तो सब पॉइंट्स वैलिड है. And then of course you will start saying that you are under instruction to do HRA transit. So this is what you are going to do. उसमें एक दो पॉइंट तो सीधे सीधे आते हैं ना, स्ट्रेट अवे विदाउट थिंकिंग.
हाँ सर, पॉइंट्स तो बहुत है सर, उसमें पॉइंट्स तो बहुत है.
25 नंबर में से 20 तो मिल ही जाएगी ना.
देखो सर देने वाला सर 10 भी नहीं देते, देने वाले 20 भी दे देते हैं.
यार चिंता नहीं, मेरी बात सुनो. ये जो पेपर है इसमें 150 मार्क्स का पेपर है. 75 चाहिए पास होने के लिए, मतलब 50%. तो 25 नंबर का सवाल है. अगर यही वाला सवाल है जो हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, इसमें 12.5 नहीं आएंगे. इनफैक्ट ऐसा सवाल जो है पासिंग सवाल है, मतलब इसमें आप
हाँ जी सर,
यू विल स्कोर अबव. अगर बेंच मार्क 15 नंबर का है, यू कैन इजीली गेट 17 to 18. Of course, it is a theory question, so you can't get 25 out of 25. You can't get 24 out of 25. But you can aim to get something over and above 20 also, because this is supposed to be, as far as I think, a passing question. Easy question. हाँ जी बोलिए।
जी सर, हाँ जी सर।
फिर उसमें मेन पॉइंट डाल दो एचआर के, अगर ऐसे ही सवाल है उसमें डाल दो। एक इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट क्या होगा, विच यू विल डिस्कस इन सेफ्टी कमेटी मीटिंग फॉर एचआर ट्रांजिट। वन
BMP 5, BMP 5।
यस वेरी गुड, बीएमपी
और
वर्जन
सर, रात को बाहर नहीं जाना, अकोमोडेशन के डोर बंद रहेंगे, एक साइड का एक्सेसिबल रहेगा, सबको रिक्वायर रेस करनी है।
5।
रेस करने के टाइम पे सबने ग्लव्स पहनने हैं।
हाँ
पायरेसी वॉचेस होंगी।
वेरी
ब्रिज
गुड।
पे ब्रिज पे घूमना है, बाहर भी घूमना है। अंदर कम रहेंगे, बाहर देखते रहना है, राउंड लेना है, वॉकी
बस
टॉकी पे रहना है।
यही तो है, दिस इज व्हाट इट इज।
हाँ, हाँ।
And you can actually mention in that safety committee meeting also that prior to transit, and since you are not doing it, मतलब you are not designating, तो आप क्या कह सकते
सर
हैं?
वेसल का रजिस्ट्रेशन करना है MSCHO के साथ, UKMDO के साथ, और अपने फ्लैग स्टेट के साथ भी।
देखो एक चीज है, सेफ्टी कमिटी मीटिंग में this may not figure because this is being conducted with the whole crew. This is something which you will do because you're going to transit HRA as per BMP version 5.0. You are only doing a meeting with the crew and additional members of the shipboard members to say that this is a transit and this is what the safety committee is all about. You are introducing them to the HRA transit. पर उसमें क्या करना है आपको for BMP 5.0 is a separate issue altogether. However, if you have the time and you are timing yourself, आपके पास टाइम है, क्वेश्चन आपका ठीक जा रहा है, मे बी आप इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकते हो।
हाँ अगर वो डिस्कस करना है, व्हाट विल बी द सेफ, मतलब कोड वगैरह कैसे रहेगा, रेड ब्लू ब्लैक जो भी हो, उनको बताना होगा कि हाँ भी। और अपना पानी का एक बैग वगैरह सब रेडी रखो हर टाइम पे।
राइट।
कभी कुछ हो जाए तो उठा के निकल लो, सिटाडेल में आ जाना।
हाँ
कौन से कोड पे
बहुत
लास्ट
इंपॉर्टेंट
पे।
पॉइंट है, आप हंस रहे हो लेकिन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है।
हाँ हाँ सर, लास्ट पॉइंट पे कौन, लास्ट पे कौन निकलेगा, कौन दास के दरवाजे बंद करते हुए आएगा, ये सब पॉइंट। और सिटाडेल का लास्ट का कोड क्या रहेगा, हु विल बी द, हाउ द लास्ट पर्सन विल एंटर, हाउ वी गोना स्टे ओवर देयर, खाने पीने का कैसे है वहाँ पे, वो सब उनको एक छोटा सा ओवरव्यू देके बाय सारा नारा।
बिल्कुल सही है। ओके, हाउ अबाउट इंट्रोड्यूसिंग at this point, in safety committee meeting itself, introduction to RA for transit, risk assessment for transit. You are not going to conduct the RA because that will not be within the purview of all crew members, but you can always introduce them that you will be carrying out RA. Let us say you say that we are going to transit as per the schedule, we are going to transit on 15th September 2021. So we plan a RA on 14th AM. 14th September AM, we plan a RA. And then you can also mention in the meeting that you are going to conduct a drill, ISPS drill. I'm just discussing points as somebody was saying. केस में क्या लिखना है? So these can all be the points. Okay, I think more or less you got the gist for HRA wala. And then of course this is not limited. We have just discussed it very short. You can practice writing. As I said, I actually plan to have you done an assignment which will help you to identify कि आपकी speed कितनी है और लिखना क्या है. Because saying something here, discussing in class and actually penning it down is entirely different. You must practice yourself for writing. और आपका कोई भी आंसर होगा ना इन सेफ्टी पेपर, कोई भी आंसर, मैं सिंपली बोल रहा, कोई भी आंसर होगा, इसको जरूर इंक्लूड करना, कोड ऑफ सेफ वर्किंग प्रैक्टिसेस, इट शुड बी मेंशन्ड समवेयर बिकॉज दिस इज वेरी वाइटल, कोड ऑफ सेफ वर्किंग प्रैक्टिसेस and the CUSWP complied with. Then of course safety records, maybe in the form of a register, maybe in the form of file, which everybody maintains. Safety officer will maintain it, and it could be in a loose leaf format also, which is as per the company requirement. It should contain these things. Minimum, it should contain these things. Safety circulars, vessel safety inspection, safety committee meeting minutes, accident reports and copies of accident report forms. ये 4 पार्ट तो हैं. And you can go on. You can have a checklist for weekly safety committee, safety round, notation of dates when completed, checklist में weekly safety round. How often do you take a safety round? As a safety officer. How
सर
often?
सेफ्टी इंस्पेक्शन मंथली होता है सर.
Monthly होता है, ठीक है?
हाँ सर, वो भी सेकंड इंजीनियर और चीफ ऑफिसर अल्टरनेटिव मंथ करते हैं, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन विच सेक्शन इज रिक्वायर्ड एज पर द मंथ.
ओके. तो इसको ऐसे लिख लेना, चेकलिस्ट फॉर मंथली सेफ्टी राउंड एज पर द शेड्यूल फ्रॉम द एसएमएस. बाकी इफ आई रिमेंबर, आई मे बी रॉन्ग, आई एम जस्ट सेइंग, आई रिमेंबर वीकली सेफ्टी राउंड्स. वीकली. You are saying monthly, maybe that is how you are following it. But monthly looks a little large time. Weekly is better. Weekly safety round. And there was another thing, this company when I worked was following, they had a method by which engine room safety round was undertaken by chief officer and deck safety round was undertaken by chief engineer. Which I agreed on. I always advocated for this. You know why? Why this is done, or why I also agreed to it? It has got a point.
सर बिकॉज अपने डिपार्टमेंट का गलतियां और वो जो हम डेली दिखते हैं वो हम नजरअंदाज कर देते हैं, दिखेगा नहीं हमें.
Absolutely. Because you are passing that area every day. तो अगर कहीं पे वेल्डिंग क्रैक है, कोई आप देख रहे हो कोई स्टेज हो है कोमिंग का क्रैक है, but you are passing it every day, you will not notice it. But somebody who is coming there, maybe after some time, he will notice it immediately. So it is a good idea that rotation is done by engine room being inspected by chief officer for a round, safety round, and deck being inspected by chief engineer, both HODs. So ये भी आएगा उसमें records में, your checklist for weekly safety round. If there is a checklist prescribed in the SMS, this has to be filled up with the date. And of course, safety matters. Other than this, near miss reports very very important. आपकी कंपनी में फॉलो हो रहा है near miss reports and mandatory to send so many reports per month. मतलब भेजनी है 100% भेजने हैं with so many minimum number of near miss reports. ऐसा हो रहा है क्या?
होता है सर, 7 भेजने होते हैं महीने में.
होता है ना?
हाँ सर, 7 भेजने होते हैं महीने में.
7
yes sir.
And why do you think this is done? कि साहब इतने भेजने ही भेजे.
So, sir, to ensure that you are like checking, not checking, like sir, mistake के chances हमेशा होते हैं, and you have a eye to have that like कैसे बताऊं सर कि गलतियां होती हैं और आपको ऐसी नजर होनी चाहिए कि आपको पॉइंट मिल सके.
हाँ, this is the point. It is assumed and presumed that ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि नियर मिस हो नहीं रहा. अगर नियर मिस हो रहा है और आप उसको मिस कर रहे हो तभी आपकी रिपोर्ट नहीं जा रही है. सो इट इज प्रिज्यूम्ड कि नियर मिस हो रहा है. फॉर दिस पर्पस इट इज एम्फसाइज्ड कि इतनी मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ रिपोर्ट्स भेजो ताकि यू आर ऑलवेज ऑन द लुक आउट फॉर नियर मिस. दैट्स द पॉइंट.
बट सर बस वही रह गया, लेकिन बनाने पड़ते हैं अब तो, बना के भेजते हैं हम लोग. अब तो सर लेकिन बनाने ही पड़ते हैं मतलब।
Okay. Chetan, what kind of vessels you are working on? Type of.
डुप्लीकेट काम
सर
होता
ऐसे तो मिल जाते हैं सर नॉर्मली, ऐसी बात नहीं है, बट फिर भी थोड़े बहुत एक्स्ट्रा बनाने पड़ते हैं। सर मैं टैंकर्स, सर मैंने टैंकर्स अभी अभी टैंकर्स पे
Uh-huh.
पहले से ड्राइव भी किया है, अभी टैंकर्स पे।
Uh-huh. So I think you will agree, Chetan. If you keep your ears and eyes open, it is not difficult to find near miss.
सर
However,
डिफिकल्ट नहीं है, डिफिकल्ट नहीं है सर, मतलब ये जो मैंडेटरी वाला हो जाता है ना कि लाइक 8 या 10 होने ही चाहिए,
uh-huh.
15 भेजने ही हैं, 4 सीरीज रिपोर्ट होनी ही चाहिए,
Haji,
इंसिडेंट रिपोर्ट्स भी होनी चाहिए। भाई क्यों इंसिडेंट रिपोर्ट होनी चाहिए? जब इंसिडेंट नहीं हो रहे, जब हो नियर मिस रहे, मैं इंसिडेंट रिपोर्ट क्यों बना के भेजूं?
सर QHSE अवार्ड भी लेना होता है ना सर
हाँ
सबको।
सर, बस वही है सर, क्यूएचएससी अवार्ड लेना होता है वैभव भाई, आपको पता
सर
है। उसके
$200
लिए चाहिए
मिलते हैं,
होता है, उसके लिए भर
200
भर के
मिलते हैं।
भेजने
अगर
पड़ते
हम
हैं।
लोगों को मिलता तो है नहीं, तो मिलता टॉप 4 को है, बनाना हमें पड़ता है, ये बड़ी
हाँ
दिक्कत है।
हाँ सर, वो तो पक्का श्योर होता है जब बन जाते हैं कि 3 महीने बाद अब मिलेगा ही मिलेगा, और 150 इनको जरूर आएगा, हमें
अरे
कुछ नहीं। हम
शिवांग,
हमें सर हम 150 से हम वो हमें सामान मिल जाता है, लेकिन हम
हाँ,
लोग
मुझे एक बात
क्लब
बता
अकाउंट भी
शिवांग,
ले आते होते हैं सर।
शिवांग, शिवांग,
हाँ सर।
तुम बोल रहे हो कि टॉप 4 को मिलता है, तुम्हें कुछ नहीं मिलता।
नहीं
अब
सर,
तू क्या हमेशा
हमारे
तू
ऐसे
हमेशा
नहीं है,
यही में रहेगा क्या?
हमारे ऐसे नहीं है
हमेशा
सर।
ड्यूटी अफसर रहेगा? मेरी बात सुन, तू क्या
हाँ।
हमेशा ड्यूटी अफसर रहेगा?
अरे सर मैंने पहली बात बोला नहीं, दूसरी बात ये कि हमारे ऐसा नहीं है, हमारे जो नियर मिस भरता है पूरे वो अपने बुक साइन करा लेता है कैप्टन से और सबमिट कर देता है, सबको मिलता है, किसी को भी हो, इन स्पाइट ऑफ एनी रैंक।
ठीक है,
पर क्रू को ज्यादा होता है, ऑफिसर्स को थोड़ा कम होता है इसमें।
चलो, I mean, I think it is a good system so that everybody is safe. You're keeping a lookout. The whole idea of having a
सर
minimum number of reports
सर
was, हाँ, बोलो,
सर आई कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट है, कोई आई डोंट फील इट्स अ गुड, क्योंकि इससे क्लैशेस बहुत बढ़ते हैं। जैसे in my ship, one of the incidents, some of crew had written that हम लोअर कर रहे थे डेक पे से ये जो वेस्ट फायर होता है 4 नंबर मास्ट हाउस से टूवर्ड्स द शिप, टूवर्ड्स द वाटर बोट में। तो चीफ इंजीनियर आ गए थे स्लीपर्स में, ऐसे ही डेक पे विदाउट हेलमेट, वॉच नहीं थी,
without
तो
helmet,
without helmet and without sleeper, in the sleepers,
safety shoes.
safety shoes, not safety shoes, in the sleepers, normal
हाँ,
sleepers,
without safety shoe.
या तो किसी ने ये लिखा पर्सन, मतलब मेंशन करके, while the lowering this wire from the mast house core, the chief engineer found on the deck without slipper and helmet. So and he was looking down from the ship side without having gloves also. तो ये पूरा लिख के भेज दिया। तो सर ये क्लैश हो गया ना, उसी दिन हमको 3:30 बजे किसी ने लिखा होगा, 5 बजे मीटिंग बुला ली, और अच्छा वो हो गया किसने लिखा, क्योंकि नियर में से एक बार जाने के बाद आप वापस चेंज नहीं कर सकते,
Okay.
कि आप चेंज कर सकते हो, और मास्टर को क्लोज करनी पड़ती है पेरिस में। तो ये एक क्लैशेस हो जाते हैं कि किसने लिखा, क्यों लिखा, कि $200 के लिए कोई किसी की कैसे कैसे ले सकता है।
सर डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कंपनी है, वैसे हम लोगों की कंपनी में वन ऑफ द क्रू मेंबर करके लिखा जाता है, बिकॉज वी
Correct.
डोंट मेंशन एनी रैंक और एनीथिंग।
सेम ऐसे ही हमारे लिखते
सर
हैं, पर अब कोई
नहीं लिखा जाता।
किसी ने लिख दिया तो क्या करें, मतलब उसका तो क्या ही कर सकते हैं, किसी ने लिख दिया, अब उसकी वजह से पूरी, मतलब नॉर्मली 3rd ऑफिसर और 4th इंजीनियर लिखता है, इन दोनों के हाथ में होता है, तो सबसे ज्यादा यही सुनेंगे कि तुमने कैसे लिखा, क्यों लिखा।
सर हमारे में क्या है कि नियर में सेंड करने के लिए उसको ब्रिज पे आना ही पड़ेगा, क्योंकि उसी कंप्यूटर से हो सकता है,
वो एडमिन के बिना जाएगा नहीं सर, वो
जाएगा
कैप्टन और
नहीं,
सी ऑफिसर ही कर
तो
सकते
उसके
हैं।
लिए बताना ही पड़ेगा,
सेंड टू
पासवर्ड
स्पोर्ट
चाहिए,
तभी हो पाता है।
पासवर्ड चाहिए।
Right, right.
तो ये सिस्टम इसलिए कि आप ऑन बोर्ड में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रोक सकते हैं।
Ah, this is what I was saying. But I disagree here. If some company, by some mention, we are looking at a scenario where the near miss report or near hazardous occurrence is to be mentioned by crew member कि इसने किया ऐसा, that I disagree. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. It should be only a mention about one crew member found like this. अगर आप उसका नाम लेके लिखोगे फिर तो इशू उठेंगे ऑब्वियसली। I will tell you a real life incident which happened with me. You are aware of the elevator. Some ships have the elevators.
Yes, sir.
We also had one on that ship. It was a
Yes,
high
sir.
accommodation block. एलिवेटर चाहिए था. चलो एलिवेटर है. अब एक दोपहर को in Pacific Ocean near Dateline. In Pacific Ocean, I remember clearly near Dateline, cross Pacific. We were going towards Yokohama from US West Coast. I heard a call that chief engineer has fallen down in the elevator shaft. This is a call I had. So at that point of time, I was preparing the noon message with the second mate. So I told second mate, forget this, you run down. I'm here on the bridge, you run down and see what is wrong. And chief engineer was sighted having tripped in the elevator shaft, fallen down and requiring help. तो ये बात आया था. चलो भागे सब लोग. I called third mate. I told him to stay on the bridge. I also went down. When I went down in the hospital, by that time this person had been picked up, the chief engineer, and brought to the hospital, ship's hospital. He had been brought over there. I had multinational crew. No disregard for that. It's okay. But when I went down and looked at the site, I was totally shaken aback. मतलब मेरे बहुत मुझे डर लग रहा था क्योंकि ऐसा हुआ था कि somebody was actually holding the chief engineer's back, which was split open with his two hands. दोनों जहाँ पे गैस बन गया था उसको उसने पकड़ रखा था to stop the blood flow. And now actually chief engineer was in a shock also. अब वो छोड़ो बाद में बात करेंगे कि हुआ क्यों, लेकिन इसको करेंगे आप तो we had only one way. Sutures impossible थे. It was a 21 centimeter gash in the feet of the chief engineer. 21 centimeter. I will always remember it because it was a real life incident somewhere in Pacific Ocean. 21 centimeter gash था. If you measure it with a scale, it was a 21 centimeter split in his back. He had fallen down in the shaft and hit the spring. एक स्प्रिंग थी उसको उसने वहां से उसने अपना पूरी पीठ फाड़ ली. अब क्या किया जाए? The only way I was left was to, use butterfly sutures. Butterfly. There is something called butterfly sutures in your medical chest. वो आपने उसको हमने फिर लगाना शुरू किया at periodic intervals on his feet, which was a substitute for actually जिसको हम बोलते हैं टाँके. उसका सब्स्टिट्यूट था. सूचर नहीं थे हमारे पास, ना कोई लगा सकता था 21 सेंटीमीटर में, ना कोई सूचर लगा सकता था. तो हमने उसको ऐसे बंद किया, ब्लड फ्लो कंट्रोल कर लिया. Then I went for RMA, radio medical advice. I was told initial action is okay. Now you continue. Give him antibiotics और फिर ये डालो बीटाडाइन डालो, ये करो वो करो. चलो वो सब होता गया. अब पैसिफिक ओशन के बीच में हो. And do you know what was the crux? The finding? Mr. Bada Saab had entered the elevator shaft, having been reported that some noise is there in the elevator shaft. So he stopped the elevator and he went inside without any PPE. He went inside. Of course, the elevator shaft was with some oil where he slipped. He slipped, and while he was going down after slipping, he struck a lighting. मतलब जो एक वो लाइटिंग का वो होता है हैंडल, उसको उसने मारा और उससे उसकी पीठ खोल दी. और ये हुआ था इंसिडेंट विदाउट पीपीई. That is how he had this. Now, what do you say about this? The report has to go. Report has to go. There is no way you can hide these things. Because this was something regarding RMA also. Radio medical advice हो रही है. Definitely the company has to be reported. Chief engineer was adamant that he's okay. He was adamant that he's okay. So much so that next day he reported back on job. जबकि मैंने मना किया था कि तुमने हिलना नहीं है. In fact, I had organized lookout on him day and night. In rotation, engine room and deck, both were going to take rounds looking by so that he's always safe and he's okay. But he was adamant that he's perfectly fine. उसकी कोई problem थी. He did not want to sign off. अब ये कैसे हो सकता है? Did not want to sign off is okay, but the report has to go. So these are things which will continue to happen because people do take shortcuts and I don't know why. चीफ इंजीनियर को मैंने पूछा था कि भाई आपको किसने कहा था? कह रहे मैंने सुना था नॉइज आ रही थी. मैंने ठीक है आ रही थी. देन डिड यू फॉलो द चेकलिस्ट? डिड यू से दैट यू आर गोइंग टू एंटर द शाफ्ट? डिड यू इन्फॉर्म एनीबॉडी? नहीं कह रहा. देयर वर 2-3 पीपल हु सॉ मी, बस इसलिए उसने किसी को बताया नहीं. And this is not very far off. Let me assure you, I am relating an incident I think of 2014, जब आरे वगैरह सब आ चुका था. This was in the house thing. तो इसलिए ये बहुत गलत है. हाँ, however, इस केस में तो नाम लेना ही था, because we are looking at signing him off. So इसका नाम तो लेना ही था in the report. But normally in a near miss report, normally I think you do not mention the name of the person or the rank. You just mention by crew member cited like this. बाकी अगर आपको लिखना पड़ रहा है because your company wants it, then it's okay. These things will continue. No matter how much we have progressed, unfortunately, shortcuts are always taken and it always falls back on occupational hazard. So, meetings should be conducted professionally in a planned and structured manner. ये जरूर लिखना. You must write this. Various meetings are to be conducted for ship's business safely and professionally in a planned and structured manner. They can be of two types: safety and environment management production committee meeting and management meeting. Both could be part of it, and they could be clubbed together to make it one meeting. SEP, Safety and Environment Protection Committee meeting. This is required, and this will be headed by Master of Course and will consist of representatives from deck engine department as well from catering department if also required. Catering department भी involved है इसमें in the Environment Protection Committee. How? Catering department. Any idea why catering department is also involved in the SEP, Safety Environment Protection Committee, as a representative?
सर केटरिंग वालों को थोड़ा ना इन्वॉल्व करते हैं.
अच्छा, केटरिंग वालों को इन्वॉल्व नहीं करते.
सर वो मीटिंग अटेंड करते हैं. नॉर्मली जो क्रू का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है वो डेक के इंजन से ही रहता है, बिकॉज केटरिंग वाले ज्यादातर छोड़ते नहीं है गैली को. दे आर मोस्टली इन गैली, दे आर नॉट टेकिंग राउंड्स ऑन डेक एंड इंजन रूम.
ओके.
तो नॉर्मली कोई ए बी या फिर ऑयलर वगैरह बोसन हो सकता है, फिटर हो सकता है, बट चीफ कुक मेसमैन नो.
ओके. सेफ्टी कमेटी में चलिए साहिल, मुझे ये बताइए कि आई वाज लुकिंग एट दिस वन, सेफ्टी एंड एनवायरनमेंट प्रोटेक्शन कमेटी, एसईपी मीटिंग, इसमें होना चाहिए वो केटरिंग?
सर इन्वायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन में तो होना चाहिए कुकी.
यही तो बात हो रही थी कि उसको होना चाहिए कि नहीं, तुमने कहा नहीं जी.
नहीं सर, मैं रिप्रेजेंटेटिव की बात कर रहा हूँ. मैं
रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेक से आ गया, इंजन से आ गया, केटरिंग से आना चाहिए एसईपी में. यहाँ पे
इन्वायरमेंट आता तो सर फिर केटरिंग से भी आना चाहिए.
बस, क्योंकि ये जो ऑयल यूज कर रहा है इसको ये कहाँ पे डिस्पोज ऑफ कैसे कर रहा है? अभी अगर फाउंड आउट अब करोगे एससी को ऑफर. ये जो ऑयल यूज कर रहा है ना, ये केटरिंग डिपार्टमेंट में ऑयल यूज हो रहा है फॉर कुकिंग. जब ये यूज हो गया, यूज्ड ऑयल, इसको कैसे डिस्पोज ऑफ कर रहा है ये?
सर वो तो उसको बता के रखा होता है ना कि मीन कहीं फेंकने का नहीं है या गार्बेज स्टोर में नहीं रखने का, अलग से डाल के कलेक्ट करके दे दो इंजन रूम में. वो ऑयल रैक्स के साथ बंद करेंगे उसको भी.
नहीं, ऑयली रैक्स को छोड़ दो, ऑयल जो ऑयल यूज है, यूज्ड है,
हाँ सर उसी की बात
उसको
कर रहा
कहाँ
हूँ.
पे
जो
स्टोर करना है?
वेजिटेबल ऑयल है वो भी इंसिनेटर में बंद करते हैं.
किसमें? इंसिनेटर में ना. तो उसको ले जाना पड़ेगा ना इंसिनेटर पे. इट शुड नॉट हैपन कि उसको वो स्ट्रेनर में डाल दे.
हाँ सर बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं आप.
इसलिए उसको इन्वॉल्व करना पड़ेगा आपको फॉर सेफ्टी एंड एनवायरनमेंट प्रोटेक्शन, इस ट्रेनिंग के लिए. ही इज नॉट टू बी इग्नोर्ड. ठीक है. बाकी अगर आप कह रहे हैं नहीं जी हमने तो उसको फुल्ली ट्रेन कर रखा है, ठीक है, छोड़ दो उसको. इफ यू फील कि ही इज फुल्ली ट्रेन्ड, ही विल, you never take a chance, he will never throw anything overboard. then it's okay. But this used oil has to correctly identified by you, has to go back into the incinerator and burned off. So he does uh, have an input into safety environment protection policy for this reason. Meetings are conducted 4 to 6 weeks, maybe depending on your SMS, but master is responsible for conducting this. Although he is only going to oversee, usually it will be chief engineer or chief officer, whoever is the safety officer, who is going to head the meeting. Or rather, I would say heading the meeting will be the master, but chief officer and chief engineer or whoever is the safety officer will be conducting the meeting. Minutes are to be recorded and forwarded to the company. ये सारे members होंगे safety committee के, all of them, chief officer, safety officer. If he is a safety officer, then one only, chief engineer, second engineer, and each elected representative of the officers and crew. They will be part of the safety committee, elected representatives or maybe appointed ones, appointed by the company or by the head of the department. That could also be a way, or maybe the SMSAs to be elected by the crew. It is not a bad idea to make the crew elect a member, because then he becomes accountable to the people who have elected him. Any changes to safety officer, on-board changes, or elected safety representatives has to be captured in the declog book. It is an important committee. It does important jobs. So it should be documented if there are changes to the safety officer and elected safety representatives. Should be captured in the declog book. If not, if you do not say declog book, maybe the official logbook, because this is very important. The safety committee meeting documentation is very important, because a lot of PSC inspectors also pay importance to this. Normally 1 month interval, normally 1 month, but if your SMS says 6 weeks, it's also okay. But normally it is 1 month. Even the Code of Safe Working Practices talks about 1 month interval. The meeting should be attended by full complement, except duty officer, duty watchkeeper. But also it is clearly written, understood that the person who misses one because of duty watchkeeping has to attend the next one. Right? So that's for how it goes for the safety committee. We take a small Kit Kat break. We come back and meet at 12:45 and continue. Right? 12:45. So the safety committee is expected to review, advise master and the company, of course, with respect to matters concerning basically safety, but will concern health, hygiene, and welfare. A monthly inspection is a must, but if your SMS says weekly, then all the more better. Records of these inspections are to be maintained. There is no point holding an inspection but not maintaining records. So records are to be maintained. Now, regarding the agenda, this can be some examples of the agenda which could be there in the safety committee meeting. Very importantly, previous meeting minutes. It should be there in the agenda, the minutes of the previous meeting, because this will help to close out the previous meeting. When it is included as agenda, previous meeting is going to be discussed. Whatever points were raised, are they closed out or not? If not, they have to be carried forward. Company circulars, obviously company circulars including the latest ones, accident discussion analysis and discussion of company circulars. As we said, and we agreed, it is possible that a safety committee meeting instead of the scheduled could be called urgently upon in case of a recognized importance of a company circular. Many times we have instructions from the company which says to hold the safety committee meeting immediately on receipt of this circular and then pass on the meeting minutes of the meeting. Discussion of company circulars, yes. Discussion of ships inspection by the safety committee or the safety officer. Any suggestions, recommendations could be part of the agenda. Any other matter which affects safety can also be on the agenda. By ISM code, we are well aware that company is committed, totally committed to SMS implementation. So any violation from this is also to be included as agenda. If identified, any SMS violation is also to be part of the agenda. Noting down something because you will need it to formulate answers. Any contravention in the roles laid down in the company SMS manual could require retraining. Disciplining is one thing, but more importantly, retraining so that any breach of SMS manual is not done again. Retraining may be necessary. In fact, retraining and training procedures could also be part of the agenda of the safety committee. Training and retraining can also be a part of agenda. You're well aware of a familiarization checklist, part of every SMS. Every time a new crew member joins, maybe not a new crew member, maybe not employed first time, but first time on board this vessel, then he has to undergo the familiarization checklist. Familiarization will be responsible of safety officer. He could delegate it. He could delegate it to second mate or third mate if he's the chief officer, but familiarization checklist has to be completed within 48 hours and definitely not later than 24 hours if more than 25% of crew has changed. If there is a designated SSO other than the safety officer, then this will formulate familiarization with the ISPS checklist. What could the familiarization include? This one, these points. Not limited to, but this should be there, definitely there. Reactions or action to be taken if contingency, if a person falls overboard, man overboard, what should be the reaction? What should be the action taken by this crew member if he sees a person falling overboard? Before that, he should understand the elementary safety matters, including safety information, symbol signs, and alarms used on this vessel. By familiarization, he should also identify muster stations, embarkation, and emergency escape routes. Undoubtedly locate and don life jackets. The use of portable extinguishers. Immediate action in case he is involved about encountering an accident or maybe medical emergency before seeking further medical assistance on board. First, he should also be familiar what kind of action he is going to take which is requiring medical emergency before he starts discussing and raises alarm for further medical attention. Fire doors, weather doors, watertight doors fitted on this ship should be familiarized with, including closing and opening procedure. So mostly generic. The chief officer for deck and chief engineer for engine room are responsible for familiarization. Now they can delegate it. That is okay. They can delegate it, but they are responsible for their departments. How is this covered actually? General regulations on behavior on board. How is this normally covered? Any course you are doing on this? Modular course? Behavior on board. Well, there's one course, it is a modular course, PSSR. This talks about it. Personal Safety and Social Responsibilities, PSSR. That modular course talks about this one. The general regulations on behavior on board, responsibilities between each one of you. Familiarization should also include the system of permits applicable on board your vessel. Not only for hazardous work, which I have mentioned here, but also of use of power tools and machinery. And very importantly, use of proper PPE. Not the least, this joining officer of crew should be familiarized with his duties on board in accordance with his job description. And this familiarization done for somebody should be part of the safety committee meeting. In every safety committee meeting, this should be part of the agenda that new joiners have been familiarized. Right? That is something regarding safety committee. We are not done, but I'm just saying. This one, have you noted down? Main task of the safety committee. Are you done with this? We started with this, but I'm not sure if you have noted down the main task of the safety committee. चलो let us assume कि आपने नोट कर लिया है, maybe mental database. Now we have already decided safety committee meetings can be held as scheduled or maybe unscheduled. Scheduled are very much preferred because then all departments can plan their jobs and everybody on board will be ready with their suggestions if it is a scheduled meeting. Then everyone is prepared for it. In fact, the agenda of the meeting is sent beforehand so that each person involved has a fair idea of what the agenda is going to be for this particular meeting and he can prepare beforehand for any suggestions of use. Scheduled meeting. Now it is no point if you are going to discourage people, so all should be encouraged to discuss any safety problem. In fact, you can keep an incentive. You can keep an incentive for this. If it brought up and identified to be an important point for safety problem, you can, in consultation with other members, you can keep an incentive for it, not monetary incentive. Maybe an additional rest hour or something, if he's coming up with a good suggestion. Just to keep the spirit of suggestion alive. Do you have on board your vessels a system whereby you identify anyone as the remarkable member of the week or something? Like in some banks you have this, some corporates you have this, employee of the week. Do you have this on board? Even if you don't have, I think it is a good suggestion. You can keep it in mind. Maybe you can start it. Maybe you can actually start this process of having an employee of the week or employee of the month in case you are having a safety committee meeting every month. Then for last month, identified employee of the month who has given good suggestions, who has prevented any accident, he can be labeled as the employee of the month. What do you say? To encourage.
Sir, we have safety champion.
You have safety what? Sorry?
Safety champion.
Safety target.
सेफ्टी चैंपियन बोल रहा हूँ सर।
Safety champion. Okay. ठीक है, चलो अगर ऐसा है तो वैसे रहने दो। Safety champion सही. At least you are encouraging, you are identifying, and then you are encouraging somebody to fall in that bracket. That's okay if you have got a label like that. What I was quoting was from somewhere I've observed, I've seen in banks, etc., maybe in corporate world, I've seen employee of the month. More conservative ones give an employee of the week, but that will be too much or shape more. So you can make it employee of the month. From last safety committee meeting, if you have identified a person, employee who has actually contributed substantially towards the safety of the vessel, then you can label him the employee of the month, or as Rishabh says, maybe champion, safety champion. Maybe, I don't know. That would be one way to encourage people. How can the company get involved with this? As an afterthought, how can the company get involved with this? Employee of the month, safety champion, etc. It should be made well known, both to the onboard crew members, when I say crew and officer both, of course, and the company, that this will be mentioned in their appraisal. This will be mentioned in their CR, that he was nominated employee of the month or safety employee champion so many times. It should play some marks. It should get some marks in the CR also. Agreed or disagreed? No problem. Whatever you want to say. This is important to understand that safety committee meetings are not waste of time, but is a prevention of accidents. And of course, it could be scheduled or unscheduled. Unscheduled in case of any accident, injury, dangerous occurrence, and maybe before critical operations like drawdown. As we mentioned, transit through HRA. It is a critical operation. So even before that, you can have a unscheduled safety committee meeting. So both general operation of the ship and safety maintenance will be a perfect, safety committee meeting will be a perfect platform for this. You will have to encourage people to speak out freely regarding any safety concerns. That is why I'm saying to identify a member who has contributed substantially and make sure it reaches the company to encourage him. Maybe the company can formulate a policy whereby they declare that on so and so in their fleet, so and so people were nominated safety officer, safety employees or safety champions, as Rishabh says. Responsibility of creating such an environment will of course rest with you as part of management. या ये एक जरूरी चीज है. Do not stress the meeting. Do not stress the safety committee meeting. Ideally restricted to maybe 1 hour. That is one thing, right? Do not stress it. Do not overstress it. Do not go overboard with it. Limit the meeting minutes or maybe to 1 hour, so that people are not bored up, so that people are involved. What should be the time for this meeting? Time of the day for this meeting? Any idea? What should be the time of this meeting?
So morning 11 to 12.
Okay. Okay, that's one suggestion. Morning 11 to 12. Any particular reason why you're saying so?
Sir, it is in the third officer watch. The second officer have to come 12 o'clock, so 1 hour that way, and the chief officer is also be awake at that time. So rest hours should not get disturbed for anybody, and it is near to the lunch period, so it will get over in short time also. So that way, as it is a safety work, so tech work can be, yeah, little bit can be done in that context, sir. That's the reason.
Anybody with a different opinion?
Sorry, sir. Yeah.
I'm saying anybody with a different opinion? I am saying that 11 to 12 है, 3 to 4 है, जो भी है, it should be done in the working hours, is my point. It should be done during working hours. I have noticed, and I think you will agree, human psychology, anything you do outside working hours disinterests people. Then they take it as a treasury.
Yes,
then they
sir.
take it as a job. Ideally, it should be conducted during working hours.
Yes,
Just
sir.
a step further, Chetan. Not only the safety committee meeting, I have always advocated to conduct drills in working hours.
They
That
should
will
also be in their working hours, sir.
working hours, always. It should not happen that you start the drill somewhere around 1700. If the 1700 is your knockout time, because as it is, for a drill you cannot claim rest hours violation for a drill. That is part of the safety. It cannot be claimed as violation of rest hours. But if you do in working hours, then people get interested. People do not take it as a thrust upon thing, activity. They will interest because it is during their working hours. So ideally, even safety committee meeting should be done in working hours. 11 to 12 is okay idea. But it's a bad idea to do it in 12 to 1, lunch hour. No, it's not a good idea. That is compromising on the lunch hour. Do it in the working hours, the best thing. But do
Sir,
not
in my
make it
last shift, sir, in my last shift, we used to do sometimes safety meeting 19 to 2000.
19 to 2000. Well, there must be
Yes,
reasons.
sir.
There must be reasons
We
for
didn't
that.
like it. We didn't like it. Nobody liked it. But
There must be reasons for it. I'm not going to comment on it. Obviously, the onboard management of that vessel must have thought it proper for that hour. I will trust them. But I have a feeling that if you do it repeatedly, maybe once in a blue moon, once a safety meeting has been done 19 to 20 is okay. But every time it becomes an effort. If you are doing it repeatedly, then people start thinking this is only punishment. कभी कभी हो सकता है, may be possible due to circumstances that the meeting could not be done in working hours and had to be done in 1920, or maybe you got an unscheduled meeting as an emergency. Then of course it's a different thing. But it should not become a habit. It should not be a routine process that you're conducting safety committee meetings only 1920. Were you doing that every time, Mr. Chetan?
so 2 to 3 times. For me, it was just I don't want to say, but it was not good.
Definitely.
19. Yeah.
Definitely not good. Not good idea. Although, Mr. Chetan, I am not going to ask you the name of the company, I'm not going to ask you the name of the vessel, because we have understood your point, but I have something to say against it. Especially if you say that this has been done in your contract 2 to 3 times, which means 4-5 मिनट में 2-3 बार तो ऐसे ही हुआ है, which is not a good idea at all.
सर हाँ, वैसे सब सही था. इनिशियली अलग टाइम पे भी होती थी, बट लास्ट के 2-3 मंथ उस टाइम पे हुई है. जब because somebody say मुझे इंजन रूम में काम है, somebody say मुझे डेक पे काम है, and then the only time left is this, and बस यहाँ पे हो जाती है.
Okay. ठीक है, point taken. Although, as a footnote, you understand footnote, Chetan? As a footnote, I would say this was mismanagement.
Yeah.
Scheduled meeting है, everything could be organized.
Yes, sir. Everything should be organized, but sometime even after organizing, when you call, sir, today evening meeting, ओहो आज तो ये प्लान किया हुआ है, आज तो ये भी पेंडिंग है, अरे मैं तो ये खोल के बैठा हूँ, मैं वो खोल के बैठा हूँ, तो सर वो हो जाता था फिर.
ठीक है, चलो. But at the end of the whole thing, we come to a conclusion that meeting should not be stretched more than 1 hour. Number one, should be kept concise so that people do not lose interest. And number two, it should be done in working hours. This is a suggestion I have. Not a suggestion actually. I would say make it a rule on yourself as management. But another thing is, what about the galley crew? They must be involved. Let me assure you, they must be involved. And the subject of galley management or food should come up last. It should not become a routine method or routine discussion in a safety committee meeting. कि दाल में पानी ज़्यादा है या सब्जी में नमक कम है. It should not be a part of the agenda because invariably, especially on Indian manned vessels, it comes up as a topic towards the end कि खाने में ये तकलीफ है, which is not a good idea for safety committee meeting. If required, if there are huge concerns regarding this, you can hold a separate meeting altogether. चलो कोई बात नहीं. You're well familiar with all this. ये भी जरूरी है. Agenda for the meeting should be produced and displayed on notice board or on a LAN system, local network, so that everybody knows what is the agenda and they come prepared. Of course, the meetings recorded, the minutes recorded, and should be displayed or accessible to everyone concerned and sent to the company. Of course, this must be the requirement of the SMS also. It has to be preserved anyway. It has to be preserved because for MLC, Maritime Labour Convention, and PSC inspections, this meeting is also giving you a backbone saying that you are, as management, you are engaged in providing safe working conditions. How are you ensuring that? Among other things, you are ensuring safe working conditions, safe working environment on board by holding safety committee meetings. Okay, please remember this question has been asked previously in the exam. What is the agenda of a safety committee meeting? Among other things, पहले question ऐसे शुरू हुआ. What is a safety committee meeting? What is a structured safety committee meeting on board? Number two, given a situation like HRA transit, what could be your agenda of safety committee? Otherwise, a simple question like, what can be an agenda of a safety committee meeting on board? So this point is also important. Circulars from the company. This should also be part of the agenda. If there are some amendments made to the SMS form checklist, this should also be part of the agenda. If there have been amendments made to SMS itself, to the forms being used or the checklist, this should be made aware in the safety committee meeting if there are amendments made. Or maybe you got some reviews or proposals for an SMS. Any non-conformity, maybe from external authorities, this also has to be brought up in the safety committee meeting, and the closing dates. Also, a schedule of next meeting can be closed out here itself in this meeting, the schedule of next one. If by chance the agenda is short, the meeting is getting over quickly, which is good actually, then it may be supplemented by a safety training video or demonstration of an item of safety like breathing apparatus, oxygen resuscitator, some demonstration. Ideally, this should be done for anyone who is not actually involved with it. Means you have in your muster checklist, you have somebody who is always designated to wear the SCBA. He should not be the one, there should be somebody else. Then, of course, a normal thing like this, you're well familiar this way. This can be the report card of the safety committee. You see here it is mentioned Chief Engineer Safety Officer, which is okay. Or you could have here Chief Officer as a Safety Officer. Possible. Flip it. ये यहाँ चला जाएगा, ये इधर आ जाएगा. Then several safety representatives like tech bosun, pumpman, fitter, electrical officer, chief cook. Just in case you are answering a question on safety committee meeting, please do draw the diagram to give an example that this could be the composition of a safety committee. Give this example, okay?
सर ये वाली स्लाइड भी अपलोड कर देना ड्राइव पे
ठीक है Okay, one more thing. Topic तो बहुत बड़ा है but anyway, what does Code of Safe Working Practices say about Safety Committee? First of all, there is a point about election of safety representatives. Can you see the shared screen? We are looking straight from the COSWP, Code of Safe Working Practices. Now, that particular write-up, which is Code of Safe Working Practices, says on every ship on which more than 5 workers are employed, the company must make arrangement for election of safety representatives. Number one, or it could be that the company makes arrangement for appointment of safety representatives. For which purpose it is emphasized that no safety representative should have less than 2 years experience as sea service after attaining age of 18. And for a representative on board a tanker, it should include at least 6 months sea service on such a ship. Only those people can be appointed as safety representatives. Once, also the code recommends this composition: 6 to 15 crew, 1 elected by officers and ratings together. 16 plus crew, more than 16 people on board, 1 elected by officers, 1 elected by rating. Over 30, 1 elected by officers, 3 by ratings. Which means 1 each from deck, engine and catering. GP ratings included in deck department. GP rating, general purpose. Ratings are included in deck department for this purpose. Once they have been elected or appointed, then this should be recorded in the deck logbook or the official logbook. Then, once the safety representatives have been appointed, then the company must appoint a safety committee. Members will be included, safety officer and all elected safety representatives. So this is how we're going to constitute composition, and then once this is done, the meeting can start. I mean, the safety committee can start working. It is also required by the code that master must record the appointment of safety committee in writing and should be formally conveyed to the people who are involved. Formally conveyed. Yeah, of course, termination is also possible. Safety officer can be terminated if it is believed that somebody else should take his place. Safety representatives can have his appointment terminated by master, or he can resign also. Just in case he has issues, he can resign also. But these are only recommendations, of course. This is by Code of Safe Working Practices. Support, external support from company should be there for the safety officials. Facilitate the work of any person appointed as safety official. They should do that. Company should support them. One minute. That is something I am looking for. Just a minute. Duties of safety officer. Very important. First of all, collaboration and working relationship with safety representatives. That is also advised to safety officer. Means he should invite, the safety officer should invite the safety representatives for a joint inspection of each part of the ship, which will also involve consulting them on safety matters so that everybody is in the loop, everybody is involved. Compliance with the code is necessary. Safety officer is required to provide compliance with this code of safe working practices. Any health, safety guidance, instructions, etc. should be complied with, and this is responsibility safety officer, but he is required to comply with and to ensure compliance. So the safety officer will do these things, among other things, he will do this. Be on the lookout for any potential hazards and means of preventing incidents. Develop and sustain a high level of consciousness for safety. If any unsafe practice is observed, then there can be suggestions for improvement, or this can be brought to the notice of higher management for any action to be taken, which we have agreed should actually not mention the name of the person involved, but the actual happening. Familiarization or induction training is also part of safety. This should be done and this should be discussed in the safety committee meeting. Means outline of induction or the familiarization carried out for new joiners. It should be encouraged for experienced seamen to convey safety consciousness to lesser experienced. After all, it is going to be passed on. Somebody wanted write up on Lodigator. It is there now on the link, right? Lodigator. It is there. And then he was also suggesting something for this topic we are doing now. So that also I will just load. Can you see Lodigator as required by one of the you? Safety committee is also loaded. You can see both of them, all three of them, right? You can visit the link and you'll find all of them. So that part is done. Anything else you want to raise for this particular session? Are we good? You can give answer to questions like what is a safety committee, discuss the role of safety committee, what can be an agenda of the safety committee, or what could be the agenda of a safety committee to be conducted for a transit through HRA of your vessel.
Okay, sir.
The Okay, in which case you can actually respond to this feedback for the class that will do for this session. You may have further classes that you can check up in timetable. As far as I'm concerned, for this session I'm done. You may respond to this feedback and that's it.
Yes, dear. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. कैसे हो? How are you all? Good.
Yes, sir. Fine.
Okay, very good. चलो आज थोड़ा रीफर के बारे में पढ़ लें. रीफर शिप्स क्या होते हैं?
Okay, sir.
I don't think any of you have worked on the reefer ships. किसी ने किया? Or maybe sometime like I have worked. We had a general cargo